Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you're hearing me good, and my daughter's very loud screaming is not coming through. So today I wanted to do a video that a lot of people have asked me about, actually. How it happened. How did I lose my leg? And me being me, I like to play because it's a bit boring, really. I get a lot of people ask, how did it happen? How did you lose your leg? How this, how that? And I'd love to say a shark attacked me or I don't know, but none of that's real. So I'll be honest. How I lost my leg was I was very drunk and very, very broke, and a gentleman was a pimp, and he said he could do me a favour, and me being dyslexic gets a dyslexic pimp. And he thought when I wanted to sell my body, I meant parts. Obviously, not true. But that's the story I like to tell the old people, because as you can imagine, their face kind of gives it away. I like the surprised shock on their faces when I tell them that. I don't think many people use the word pimp to an elderly person. It's probably not really appropriate. So, less of the laughs, the true story. I got an ingrown toenail, and as much as I am type 1 diabetic and have been told to watch my feet my entire life, which I'd like to say I did, I have done that, it's a hard one. So what happened was I noticed the red dot on my when I got out of the shower one day, on my big toe, on my toenail, and there was a slight bit of pus. And so straight away I rang the diabetic centre. Now previously, because I am, and this is why we call it, the channel is called You Couldn't Write It, is because so much shit happens to me, it's unreal. My life is full of fun that way, I guess, but it's still crazy. So just before all of this started and all of this happened, I stood on what I thought was a nail. So I had been in the garage and I thought I had trodden on this nail, and I went to A&E and they gave me a plaster, even though there's a big hole, but I pulled it out. And when I handed over this rusty nail, being a bit of a blonde moment, it was actually a screw, and I should have unscrewed the nail. The screw, you should unscrew them. In fact, the first thing is, if ever you trod or you get a foreign object sticking in your body, leave it there. So my big F up on that was I took it out. You should never do that. I have now learnt that. Will I still do it? Probably. But anyway, so I go to A&E, I got stitched up. It took 4 surgeries after the infection, and we saved my leg. Well, my foot, and that's how crazy this is, because we went through all this of we might lose, you might lose your leg, you might lose your foot, because I trod on a screw and didn't feel it, and the infection and all that stuff. Anyway, cut a long story short, I was on morphine, I put a lot of weight on, I wanted to lose the weight, and I got back into running, and so I was running daily. I'd lost quite a lot of weight at this point, very happy, back at fitness, off all the pain meds, foot was looking great, and I noticed this red dot. And the first thing I did was obviously ring the amputee centre, at the diabetic centre, sorry. Went straight down, they did swabs, put me on antibiotics, and that's where it all started. They eventually, because obviously the infection got worse and worse, and they eventually explained that what I needed to do really was have the toenail removed. Plain and simple. They do it at your doctor's surgery. Everything will be fine. So I had started taking pictures of my toe because at the hospital they were saying it's getting better, it's looking better, and it really was not looking better at all. I don't, it looked worse. So I was taking pictures so that I could compare them and also show, you know, my family, what do you think? Because obviously it was always bandaged and wrapped up, so nobody could see it until they were doing the dressing change at the hospital. So when they were doing the dressing change, that's when I was like, okay, let me assess and see the damage. At the end of that, the argument was, they were saying the GP should remove the toenail. The GP was like, we don't do that, but the clinic up the road does that, and that's where we send people to have it done. So I went there. They don't do it if it's infected, which unfortunately it was infected, severely infected, so they wouldn't touch it. You have to go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital, and they were arguing then that it's the doctor's job. So 7 months of this arguing who to do it, but in between I was having it dressed at least at the hospital, and I was on constant antibiotics. The minute I'd stop, I was severely poorly. I then got cellulitis growing up my leg and bone infection, and there was nothing really that they could do. So after 7 months of the doctors arguing and the hospital, it was too late. I ended up, the cellulitis grew up my leg, and it started to really badly smell. And as it did really badly smell, we realised it was gangrene and it had got into the bone. So we decided, I was told, we need to amputate your toe. I met an amazing guy who was my surgeon, who saved my life more than once. Absolute legend of a guy. He amputated my toe and let me go home the same day because I'm a single mum and I need to be there for my little one. So that's what happened with the toe. The toe did not then work. They needed to, a few months later we realised it still wasn't getting better. I was still really quite poorly, but the MRI showed an area which could have been gas from amputating the toe or gangrene still. So we had to wait. While we waited, I was on a low dose antibiotic, and eventually, unfortunately, the gangrene had spread to the second toe. So I ended up with a hole. Again, I went back to the diuretic centre, they were dressing it, and eventually I started to get worried because you could tell, and he did say, I don't know what else to do. So I phoned the surgeon, the surgeon's secretary, and he did tell me off because he said, you know, if you need me, you call me for whatever, and I don't care if it means me removing a toenail, you know, I will do whatever I need to do for you. Sorry. After all that, that was that. I had to go in. They amputated below my knee, and that did get rid of the bone infection, which was the most severe, and where I got sepsis twice due to the bone infection. After having the amputation, unfortunately, I then got infected from the amputation, but because it was a whole new infection, we'd got on top of it straight away, it was doable. It wasn't in the bone, and we haven't had to go any further. The blood supplies now are horrific to both legs, below the knees. So below the knees are still questionable. as long as there's no infection, the leg should stay below the knee. If there becomes an infection, then it will become an above knee. And with the second leg, the foot isn't getting the right blood supply. And again, I can't say this is medical negligence, it's just the system doesn't really work. And so I should have been on blood thinners from the day I had surgery, from amputating the toe, let alone then, you know, they amputated the leg. I should have been on blood thinners from day one. Instead, I was obviously discharged. I didn't even have blood thinners in the hospital. And a bit of a mix-up with then being at different hospitals, because my hospital doesn't amputate. So it was just all one thing after another kind of thing. I got the wrong wheelchair that crushed my back and blah, 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 blah. And that's where we are today. So, no, it wasn't a shark attack, unfortunately. I think that would be pretty cool because I love sharks. It wasn't anything fun or exciting or a pimp. And as you can see Gia in the background there, it was just, I'm diabetic. Okay.
I just want to go get my phone.
Okay. It is just because I am a type 1 diabetic. And the one thing I do hate though, I am so well controlled. Like, I take my diabetes serious. I help other people with theirs. You know, I normally hit 95% target daily. There isn't, you know, and every time you say diabetic, that's how you lost your leg, you know, diabetes or infection, everyone says, oh, diabetes, as if like my control was terrible and that's what happened. Obviously, if your control is terrible, you are looking at, you're gonna have an amputation, you know that. But one thing that really winds me up is the fact that there's no, mine was not. I am well controlled. I'm so proud I'm well controlled. And to be well controlled through sepsis twice, intensive care, you know, I work hard at that. And that's an hourly thing. I work very hard. So I do hate the stigma that people think, oh, you're diabetic, so you don't look after yourself, you didn't look after your sugars, and that's how you lost your leg. Because it's not true. I look after my sugars more than I look after my money, you know. It's my life and I'm not going to mess about with it. You know, it isn't just me, it's, I have a daughter, I have somebody who is there for me and is an amazing support, and without her and my dog, I don't know where I'd be.
By the way, she's talking about me.
Yeah, by the way, I'm talking about her if you don't know. So anyway, that's how I lost my leg. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and maybe see you next time.
Wait,
Please like and share and subscribe.
we have another person.
Yeah,
He gives one puzzles.
cheeseburger. Anyway,
It's cheeseburger cat.
okay.
Slash burger.
Like
And share.
and
Follow.
and sub.
Subscribe.
See you guys.
Also,